Picture a crowded bar. He leans against the rail, neither loud nor needy. When she talks, he listens like it's a rare treasure. He doesn't fill silence with jokes or explanations. The quiet sits on him like a well-cut coat, effortless, obvious, magnetic. I'll show you why silence, used right, is not avoidance, it's power. I'll give you the mindset, the real moves, and a one-week drill you can run that forces the change. This isn't manipulation. It's a disciplined presence that draws attention without begging for it. First, understand what silence signals. Most guys use silence as fear. They don't know what to say, so they disappear or they overtext later to fix it. A calm man uses silence as information and as a tool. He lets scarcity of reaction create curiosity. I once ghosted a group chat for 2 days after a date. People panicked. The next time I walked into a room, that same woman asked me about my week like she'd been waiting. Here's the twist. She leaned in because I'd shown a life that continued without her approval. Second, silence protects your frame. When you react emotionally to every ping, you outsource your standards to notifications. A simple, steady line like, "I'm tied up, let's talk later," does more for your credibility than 10 frantic paragraphs. On a date, a woman pushed me about something I hadn't done. Instead of defending, I said, "I don't need to justify my time." She cooled, then asked more questions. Silence keeps calibration in your hands. Third, silence sharpens mystery. Humans are pattern machines. We fill blanks fast. If you're always available, she knows the script. If you're steady and scarce, she writes stories about you. That's not dishonesty, that's spacing information so attention grows. I'm not saying it will vanish forever. I'm saying choose your presence so it feels earned. Fourth, silence amplifies small actions. A short, calm text can outperform a long, needy paragraph. A single line like, "Let's do Friday, I'll text when I'm free," carries weight. It shows you have a life and plans. Women aren't attracted to ghosting. They're attracted to the man who shows he's engaged in life, not in chasing validation. Fifth, silence reveals who she is. When you stop reacting, people show their real colors. If she leaned in, her curiosity was real. If she backpedals, that tells you more than her compliments ever could. Schopenhauer taught us that desire is the engine of suffering, and part of his point is, reduce the noise and you see what remains. Don't confuse silence with coldness. Think of it as a filter. Sixth, silence is practice in emotional regulation. Stoics trained themselves to observe impulses before acting. Marcus Aurelius said, "He who lives in harmony with himself lives in harmony with the universe." That's not mystical mumbo-jumbo, it's an instruction. When you let a moment breathe before you respond, you're practicing the exact discipline that makes calm masculinity believable. Seventh, silence preserves dignity. When you over-explain, you humble yourself into a smaller role. Admit mistakes when they matter. Apologize when it's real. But when the impulse is insecurity, say nothing or say this simple line, "I'll handle that later." It's direct. It's boundary setting. It's masculine because it assumes competence rather than begging for reassurance. Here's why this pattern works beyond pickup tactics. Social attention is currency. Attention scarcity creates value. Behaviorally, people care more about what's slightly out of reach. Psychologically, constant reactivity trains others to expect you to change for them. Structurally, modern dating fuels anxiety via infinite options and constant feedback. Silence forces a pause in that feedback loop. Philosophically, Schopenhauer observed how will and desire bind us to endless craving. Stoics taught the opposite. Control your internal motion, and external storms are less effective. The two traditions converge here: less impulsive reaction, more sovereign presence. Now let's get tactical. Do this. When you feel the need to explain, breathe 3 slow counts. Label the feeling, then state a short boundary. Say out loud, "I'll get back to you tonight." That line works because it's clean and firm. Stop typing essays to fix moods. Stop turning every doubt into a conversation. Start making small, concrete plans independent of her responses. If she tests you, mirror the test back with calm curiosity. Why does that matter to you? That invites clarity rather than panic. Micro-practice for the next 7 days. Day 1. Implement a 12-hour silence rule after any ambiguous message, no reaction until the next meaningful window. Day 2. Replace one long emotional text with a one-line plan. Day 3. Practice pausing before reacting in person. Count 2 breaths. Day 4. Do one social activity without checking your phone for 2 hours. Day 5. On a date, ask 3 questions and say nothing for 5 seconds after her answers. Day 6. If you feel defensive, use the line, "I prefer space right now," once. Day 7. Review. What shifted in their behavior and what shifted inside you? Keep a small note of observations. If you're worried this sounds manipulative, check yourself. The goal isn't to play games. It's to grow control and presence. Manipulation seeks outcomes at the cost of integrity. This is about not outsourcing your emotions to another person's momentary state. That difference is everything. A couple quick practical lines to use: "I'll get back to you tonight" for texts, and "I prefer space right now" for tense in-person pushes. A boundary to state when things escalate: "I don't do drama, let's talk later." Tell them to be calm, not clipped. Your tone sells the line more than the words. Last coaching note: this requires inner work. Silence will feel awkward at first because you're unlearning a lifetime of panic-driven reflexes. Expect friction. Expect to be misread. That's fine. Keep practicing. The friction is where calibration happens. So what's the bottom line? The man who stays silent at the right time isn't distant out of fear. He's precise out of discipline. He creates room for curiosity, preserves his dignity, and forces reality to show its true face. The quiet is not an absence, it's a tool. Use it deliberately. If you're ready to try, run the 7-day drill and post one honest note in the comments about what changed. I'll read it. No hype here, just real practice. If you want, in the next video I'll break down what good silence looks like in real messages and clips, with exact word choices. Try it. Stay calm. Stay sovereign.